Hello. Uh-oh. Hello again, everybody.
Why you say uh-oh?
Because it did something real fast on the screen. What's wrong with you?
Because you dropped me off.
What you mean?
You dropped me off.
What do you mean?
You told me we needed to talk.
Oh, yeah.
You
and
said
I told you I was going to tell you when you got there.
You said we needed to talk and it don't sound good. In my Janet Jackson voice, this can't be good.
I mean,
this can't be good. But girl, we here now.
It depends on how you look at it.
Dear God, we here. We here. You got us on this couch, girl. You talking about we needed to talk and all of the things.
Yeah.
The last time we were here, you know, I had company.
You did have company.
My company was getting ready to leave. You know, and then at some point my company left.
Yes.
And I saw her off. Shout out to Miss Brittany. Being it now. And I reached out to you.
Yes.
And I was just checking the pulse of the room. You know your neck too.
Yeah.
Checking the pulse of the room. And I reached out to you and I said, you know, hey, how's everything going? What's good? This, that, and the third. And you said something to me.
Yeah, I said, well, I'm good. Hopefully you're good. And I said, but I do need to tell you something.
What you got to say to me?
Ashley came over.
See, every time you say it takes me back. You see what I'm saying? Every time.
It gets your tangles again.
Who came over there?
Ashley came over.
Why did the ventriloquist come over there?
Because
she don't stay there no more.
I know she doesn't live there anymore. You helped me put her out. But she said she needed to talk.
Talk about what? The fact that everything was packed in the car. It should have been done. So then what happened? After you tell me we needed to talk.
So I told you, hey, we need to talk. I said, hey, you want to come, to my place since your company is going off. Did you want to come and hang out or whatever for the weekend or for the night or what have you? It was a little shady. And so you were like, sure, let me get myself together until you came on to my apartment. So when you got there, I said, well, like I told you over the phone, Ashley came over and she said she needed to talk. And we talked, and one thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together.
Look at my foot.
It's just still rocking.
Girl, look at my foot.
Like 20 years ago.
It was 20 damn years ago.
Yeah,
it was 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago. It was a long time ago.
It was about 20 years ago.
And mind you, we were not in a relationship.
We were not in a relationship.
However, I knew that we had crossed the line. I felt that it was only right for me to tell you.
Was that before or after? My foot started shaking. You see what I'm saying? Was that before or after, girl?
It was before. However, I felt that I owed you that much to tell you. That we kind of doubled back a little bit.
See, and that was exactly the conversation that I had with myself when we was driving her stuff to her auntie house. I had a conversation with myself in my head, and I said, "Self, see, these people not done. These people is playing these lesbian timeline games, girl. 1 minute you in, 1 minute you out. It's like double dutch over here with these people. This is a conversation that I had in my own head." You know how they say, ain't nothing wrong with you if you talk to yourself as long as you don't ask the question and answer it. Well, that day I asked and answered.
But I told you that after it happened, I told her that this was a mistake and it would never happen again. And it didn't.
Well, I don't know. As I recall, 20 or so years ago, I recall getting there to your apartment, and I recall us having that conversation. I remember it like it was yesterday. Because we were sitting in the living room, and we were sitting on that little tweed couch or whatever you... Girl, I don't know. This is not a paid for
You
sponsorship.
cannot get down on my little rental furniture, okay?
Girl, I don't know, girl. But this is not a paid for sponsorship for the furniture company. But baby, all I know is anytime I came over there in the summertime, girl, my legs was itching because the material of the couch, girl, was very much so giving like wool coat. So I remember sitting on that couch in my shorts. And I remember my leg rocking like it's doing right now. And I remember that being like our first big argument, our first big fallout. Because, girl, we fell out that night. We fell out that night. Because I was like, girl, why did you waste my time? You said you wasn't with this girl no more. I very much so told you that me and Brittany was talking, trying to see what was up, you know, all the things. You just convinced me down, girl, that y'all was done. She couldn't even so much as call you, girl. She, you know, so how she called, got through, made an appointment, turned her key, how we got here.
She didn't have a key anymore.
Girl, you see what I'm saying? How we got here, girl, I would never know. I would never know, girl. So I'm sitting there. So from my perspective, girl, I am sitting there on that little tweed couch watching that girl TV that was in that entertainment center. And I just remember, girl, my foot was shaking just like it is now. And I was looking at that TV. And I just kept looking at you at the other end of the couch. And I was looking at that TV. And I just remember snapping. I just remember going off.
Mind you, you had just got up off. Just, mind you.
I told you, and I was trying to
somebody else.
And I told you I was talking to that girl. And I told you,
all weekend.
I told you when we was at Club Rain. And I told you when we were there at the club that I didn't really think that it was going to go much further. Because that natural chemistry was not there between her and I. Mm-hmm. You see? Mm-hmm. I told you, I said, you know, Shorty is fine. Girl, she's stacked. Girl, she is stacked. Like the bricks outside this club. You understand what I'm saying? Girl, I told you. I didn't know if the Greyhound, if she got off the Greyhound and she rode the bus or if the bus rode her. I told you all of this stuff, girl. But I also told you, I said, this is not my person. This ain't my girl. This ain't my wife. This ain't my, you know, and I knew that. And I knew that her and I were friend zoning. Mm-hmm. You see? So I was transparent and I didn't feel like I got that from you.
But how was I not transparent when I literally told you right after it happened?
I was in my feelings.
So, because I came to you and told you right away. So if that's not transparency, I don't know what is.
So what ended up happening next, because we were there, so we know. So what ended up happening next, best friends, was, girl, I gathered my little belongings in my little knapsack. Girl, and I put my stick and my clothes and I tied it, girl, on the end of my thing, and I threw it over my shoulder at some 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that, right? So keep in mind, I had packed my little bag because I thought she had something to tell me, like, oh, we talked and we kissed. I thought it was going to be something like that, girl. When I found out clothes was on the floor and I'm in the scene of the crime. You see what I'm saying? Girl, it just hit very differently. It did. Girl, it just hit very differently. So I gathered my belongings and I told you deuces.
And I said, really, Candy, in the middle of the night, like, it's not safe. Like, you by yourself. Why would you leave at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Girl, what's not safe is for me to lay my head here tonight, okay? That's what's not safe, okay? So the next part of what happened, some of you guys already know because you've heard bits and pieces of this story. Mm-hmm. You didn't hear what led up to it.
Wasn't it in the book?
I don't know.
I think it was in the book.
I know we've told this part online.
Yeah, we have.
So the very next thing that happened, so keep in mind, remember, I live 45 minutes away. Mm-hmm. I have to take the expressway back home, girl, and I have to, cool down. So I'm in my car this summer night. It's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Girl, I'm bumping my music. Ain't God a keeper? I just thought about that, girl. Ain't he a keeper? But anyway, I'm bumping my Jaheim because his album was hitting that summer. I'm bumping my Jaheim and I am cruising down. I believe it was 74.
It was Interstate 74.
You understand what I'm saying? And so I get to the Peoria Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I see the lights. You know. And I pull over because anytime you're in the car with me, 9 out of 10 times, girl, I'm hitting it, girl. I'm gonna if the speed limit is 70, I'm gonna give you about 80, 85. They give you 70, I gotta take 10 or 15 more.
Just for good measure,
right? So the man had got me. He pulls me over. I'm expecting a speeding ticket. He said, license and registration. Okay, whatever. He come back and say, I need you to step outside the car. Who?
Why?
Who? He said, I need you to step outside the car. Who? There's only one person in the car. I need you to step outside the car. So, girl, I step outside the car. He was just like, your license is suspended. Suspended. I said, they might be in detention. They're not suspended, though. Why would they be suspended? Your license is suspended. What I could do for you is I could let you make a phone call. You can call somebody if they can be here within 10 or 15 minutes to come get your car. That way I don't have to call the tow truck to have your car towed. Well, my car is not going to be towed.
Off the highway.
Off the expressway because my car has not done anything wrong. So I called Chaun begrudgingly. I don't know nobody else in Peoria.
She calls the person with no car.
Well, you got to help me figure it out. Now keep in mind, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Chaun not from there, but she got a little bit of a circle there in town. Anybody I know there is through Chaun. Okay? So now this was almost 20 years ago. So you can't think, Uber, this and that. Like you can't think with your logical brain of now. Right. You gotta think, I'm on a flip phone. Only thing this phone is capable of doing is dialing numbers. Right. Maybe a little bit of T9 text.
T9 word, right.
Yeah, So Chaun says, okay, give me a second, let me see what I can do. What do you do?
So I said, wait a minute, I have to find somebody that's got to get me there ASAP. So I went to my mental Rolodex and I said, well, wait a minute. I know somebody that I can call that has a car that more than likely would do it. So I called Ashley.
Out of all the people you could have called, you couldn't have called Jesus.
Because Jesus was on the main line with somebody else. So I said, well, let me see. I call. She picks up. Yes. Not after you just, okay, anyway. Hey, what you doing? You busy? No. I need a huge favor. What's up? So Candy got pulled over and I need to get to her like immediately because I need to go pick up her car. Chuckles on the other end of the phone.
You just a big fat Asian. That's how she said.
She said, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Oh, I can't stand her.
I said, Candy got pulled over. I need you to take me to her so I can get her car. She said, all right. She hangs up. Next thing I know, she's there. She comes and picks me up.
She probably was sitting outside in the parking lot, okay? How she got there so fast, I'll never know.
I don't know how she got there that fast.
Girl, she was probably sitting in the parking lot.
She came and got me. She picked me up. I get in the car. She looks at me. She said, this is interesting. Actually, not right now. This ain't the time. Get on 74, heading back to Bloomington, please. Let's go. So we get there. We get on the bridge because Candy's on the bridge. Okay, they pulled her over on the bridge. We get on the bridge.
Girl, all I see is river water underneath.
We get on the bridge,
and I'm handcuffed in the back of the squad car.
Why does man have to handcuff Candy? That was too much.
Well, because I was under arrest. I was in custody at that point.
So Ashley pulls up. She don't pull up behind the car. She pulls up next to the car. and looks over past me and looks at Candy.
The officer rolls the window down. All of a sudden, I hear, that's what I hear.
So
look at here. Girl, my hands was behind my back like this.
So I swatted her and I'm like, stop.
I'm like, girl, I'm handcuffed. I'm in the back of, I'm like,
I said, don't do that. I was like, thank you very much. And she's like, you welcome. I get out the car.
I told that officer, I said, let me out this car. I promise you, I'm finna whoop her. I promise you, I'm finna throw this little mother. I promise you, all of this to me, okay, so this part of the story is the lesson that I learned here, and we're gonna get back into the story. The lesson that I learned in this season was own your part. Mm-hmm. Own your part. This is what I learned as I'm looking back over what happened 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? I couldn't own my part. Mm-hmm. I was placing 100% blame on her. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, had y'all not been wrestling and tussling and bustling and nuzzling, you understand what I'm saying? I wouldn't have never had to get mad. And I wouldn't have never been in the car. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what therapy has taught me over the course of time is you have to look at a situation and you have to examine yourself. Even the Bible says, let a man examine himself. Mm-hmm. I had to examine myself. And so all I wanted to do in that moment was I was going to drag her. Baby, listen, honey, let me tell you how much bigger I was than that girl. I was going to drag her from one end of the Peoria Bridge to the other end of the Peoria Bridge. I wanted her like a fat kid want cake.
So I get out the car. She zooms off. Okay, never to be seen
in her little go-kart.
In her little go-kart.
Her little clown car.
I was gonna say never to be seen again, but we actually do come across her. But that's another story for another day. Mm-hmm. And so I talk to the officer. I get her keys. I get Candy's keys. I get in her car. I said, "Where are we going, sir? Where do I need to go?" He said, "Just follow me." I said, "Okay, let's go."
We're driving. Mm-hmm. There's no we, okay? I'm being driven.
Escorted.
To the point where my arms are numb. This is for anybody who's ever not been handcuffed. Or if you've been handcuffed and it was an intimate setting, that's just slight uncomfortability. You know what I'm saying? But like, when you being handcuffed behind your back for an extended period of time, baby, that hurt. Mm-hmm. That hurt. So, he's driving and I'm noticing the lights of the city is disappearing. Mm-hmm. The houses, the buildings. I'm noticing we driving in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Now,
it was dark.
This area that we're in, right outside of Peoria, is an area, a town that's very widely known for white sheets and things. Mm-hmm. You just see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They don't like our kind. Mm-hmm. And they definitely don't like two women, mm-hmm. right? So I'm wondering, is this a above board situation or what? You mm-hmm. see what I'm saying? I don't know. So we eventually arrive at this small little police station. They take me back, they book me, they fingerprint me, they do all the things, right? And the officer told me, he said, you're going to be here for the better part of, 6-8 hours, something like that. I don't know. Right. Because we have to go through this process. But as long as you don't have any outstanding warrants anywhere, we'll get you a court day schedule and then you'll be released. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what ended up happening. But that process took forever. And because it was in the middle of the night and because it was years ago, I don't know what kind of technology they have now, mm-hmm. because it was years ago, they had to wait and get clearance for different areas, different states, mm-hmm. All over. Because, girl, they check everywhere to make sure don't nobody want you. Right. So they finally released me. So I go to the front. Now, I don't have any means to communicate with Chaun because they take all your property. They take everything. So I don't have any way to text Chaun and be like, "Are you okay? You still here? Did you leave? Or did you come back?" I don't know where she at. And quite frankly, we have been friends, but now we have crossed the line. So the loyalty piece, I don't know that part of her yet because I have not needed to lean on Chaun in that way. So this is the first time of me actually needing her in a way, right? This is the first time of me needing you in a way. So Chaun showed up. She was there. I walk out, they released me. I walk out the front door. I don't know where I am. I don't know where to go. Chaun is sitting there in the lobby. And she just runs to me. She hugs me. Because she just held me super tight for the longest. And was like, "Are you okay? Did they treat you fine? Did anybody do anything to you?" I was like, "No, I'm good, whatever." So then, what's your perspective?
So me, all I know is I get to this police station. I park Candy's car. I go in and I go to the front desk, and I'm like, "I'm here for Candy. Yada yada yada. Can you give me any information? How long is she gonna be here?" I'm trying to ask all these questions. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. They were giving me very vague answers, like, "Yes, she's here. We're doing some paperwork. We're processing her. It's gonna be a while." It's gonna be a while. Like, what do you mean? Like 30 minutes, 3 hours? Like, what's a while? It's like it's gonna be a while. You can have a seat. Okay, say less. So this is where I sit until I see her face again, because I'm not gonna leave. So I'm just sitting there. I'm waiting. I'm nervous. I'm a little slightly scared. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so all I know is the next thing I knew is I saw her coming out, and I was like, "Oh, thank God!"
Why were you scared?
Because I was in a place where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know where I was. All I knew is I followed this police officer. I don't know the name of the town. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know the address of the police station. I don't know anything, and I'm just sitting there.
So also, for the people who may come across this video and you've not gotten the books, let me segue here. This is a good opportunity to definitely go get the books. There was a previous incident before Chaun and I got together that probably was playing in her mind too, right? So I'm sure without her speaking about it, there was some underlying things that you probably was like, "I don't know what's going on." You know what I mean? And so from my perspective, in that moment, although we were really, really young, and I was in my very early 20s, I saw something in you. I saw you to be loyal, although I felt like you weren't because of what you had just done.
Right.
I seen evidence. I seen evidence of you being loyal. I seen you really being there for me. I seen you being reliable. I seen traits of, okay, this is somebody I want to keep close to the chest. I just didn't know in what capacity. I felt like it was starting to be romantic. I felt like we were really going in that direction. But this is also the point for me where I started to see you different. So I just wanted to add that piece. I just want to add that. Yeah. I started to see you different. And although there's a lot more that we went through before we got to the point where we were just like, okay, this is where we're going to really land. I think I was sorting through a lot of different things. I was young. I had already been through a horrible relationship with my ex, Nicole. I had gone through a lot of trauma in that relationship. And so I started to think about what my future would look like. And I started to imagine, what if this person is really supposed to be a part of it?
Yeah, and then after we left, needless to say, she ended up back at my house, where she should have stayed in the first place.
Girl, ain't nothing happened. Girl, ain't nothing happened. Ain't nothing happened.
Anyway, so that, my dear friends, is how our very first disagreement occurred and what happened and how Ashley was in the midst of it.
I don't even know if that was ever resolved.
No,
Interesting.